was always going to be pressure on the second season of Daredevil Born Again. Not only did it have to follow one of the greatest comic book television adaptations ever made in Netflix's Daredevil, but it also had to prove that Marvel Studios truly understood why fans connected so deeply with that original version of the character in the first place. Thankfully, Season 2 doesn't just understand the assignment, it embraces it completely. Darker, grittier, more violent, more emotional, and more confident in its identity, this season feels like the moment Born Again truly becomes the continuation fans have been waiting years to see. As someone who's always adored the Daredevil character, this season hits all the right notes. Even going back to the much-maligned 2003 Daredevil starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, there was still something about the world of Matt Murdock that fascinated me. That film may have not been particularly good, but the character himself was compelling enough to overcome many of its flaws. Then came the Netflix era, and suddenly Daredevil was treated with the seriousness he deserved. Across 3 brilliant seasons, particularly the phenomenal first and third installments, the show redefined what superhero television could be. It was mature, grounded, brutal, emotional, and deeply human. So when Marvel Studios announced Born Again for Disney+, excitement was naturally sky high. The first season was very good, but there were moments where you could clearly feel the behind-the-scenes restructuring. Originally conceived as a very different type of series under head writers Matt Corman and Chris Ord, Marvel eventually halted the production during the 2023 writers and actors strikes and decided to completely overhaul the creative direction. That decision ended up saving the series, bringing in showrunner Dario Scardapane alongside directing duo Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead transformed Born Again into something that felt spiritually connected to the Netflix era rather than disconnected from it. And Season 2 is where that vision fully comes to life. What immediately stands out about the season is how unapologetically adult it is. This is not sanitized Marvel entertainment designed for children. The violence feels dangerous, the emotional stakes are heavy, and the writing treats its audience with intelligence and maturity. In many ways, Daredevil occupies a similar space to The Boys or the Deadpool films, stories that recognize comic books are capable of telling complex, morally grey, adult narratives. That tone fits Daredevil perfectly. Matt Murdock is not a cosmic hero saving galaxies. He's a blind lawyer walking the filthy streets of Hell's Kitchen, balancing morality, guilt, Catholicism, justice, and rage. His world should feel intimate, dangerous, and emotionally exhausting, and Season 2 captures that brilliantly. The cinematography leans heavily into shadow, neon, and oppressive darkness. New York itself becomes almost a character in the series, corrupt, wounded, angry, and divided. There are visual contrasts everywhere between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, particularly in the color grading and lighting choices. Fisk is often framed like a looming force of nature, larger than life, while Matt is constantly depicted as isolated, battered, and struggling beneath the weight of his choices. And without doubt, the show references and subtly mimics the power control of Donald Trump's second term as President of the United States. Now, at the center of everything is the extraordinary rivalry between Charlie Cox's Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Quite honestly, this series could almost be called Daredevil and Kingpin, because both characters are equally essential to its success. They are both the leads, constantly playing off of one another. Cox once again proves he was born to play Matt Murdock. The beauty of his performance lies in the duality he brings to the role. As Matt, he's vulnerable, exhausted, compassionate, and emotionally conflicted. As Daredevil, he becomes something far more frightening, a man fueled by pain and obsession. Cox understands every layer of the character, and after all these years, he wears the role effortlessly. But somehow, D'Onofrio matches him step for step. His Wilson Fisk remains one of the greatest comic book villains ever portrayed on screen. There's an intelligence and quiet menace to his performance that makes every scene tense. Fisk genuinely believes he is saving New York, which makes him infinitely more compelling than a simple, evil mastermind. The brilliance of Daredevil has always been that Matt and Fisk are mirrors of one another. Two men driven by trauma, violence, and a desperate desire to impose order on chaos. The only difference is the choices they make in doing so. This season explores the relationship beautifully. Their rivalry poisons everyone around them, and the show constantly asks whether the line between hero and villain is thinner than ever a man wants to admit. The supporting cast is equally outstanding. Deborah Ann Woll returns as Karen Page and once again brings incredible emotional depth to the role. Karen's growing willingness to embrace violence and morally questionable methods adds another fascinating dimension to the story, particularly as she becomes increasingly influenced by the brutal philosophy of Frank Castle. Margaret Loviva is fantastic as Heather Glenn, whose trauma following Muse's attack in the first season continues to psychologically unravel her. Her descent into darkness is one of the season's most unsettling arcs. Then, of course, there's the wonderful Wilson Bethel as Bullseye. Every moment he appears on screen is electric. The now famous diner sequence, set to New York State of Mind by Billy Joel, is one of the standout moments of the entire season. Bethel brings this terrifying unpredictability to Dex Poindexter. He feels broken, dangerous, tragic, and horrifying all at once. His attempt to seek redemption after Foggy Nelson's death adds another layer of emotional complexity to an already unstable character. Elsewhere, Michael Gandolfini delivers excellent work here as Daniel Blake, Fisk's protege, while Alayat Azura returns as Vanessa Fisk, which was an absolutely correct decision after the brief recasting attempt in Season 1. She completely owns the role and brings enormous emotional weight to Fisk's personal storyline, and her chemistry with D'Onofrio is remarkable. Now, one of the most satisfying aspects of the season is how it slowly rebuilds the wider Netflix Marvel universe. Seeing Kristen Ritter return here as Jessica Jones feels natural rather than forced fan service. Her chemistry with Matt instantly reignites memories of the Defenders. Then right at the end, the return of Mike Colter as Luke Cage provides one of the season's most exciting moments. These appearances don't distract from the core story, they enrich it, reminding audiences that this is a gritty corner of Marvel storytelling that still exists. And I must give a special shout out to Matthew Lillard's performance here as Mr. Charles, an influential power player who becomes an antagonist for Fisk. It's a wonderful casting choice, as Lillard is having the time of his life. And I would be remiss to not mention, of course, Eldon Henson reprising his role of Franklin Foggy Nelson. Albeit in only one episode in the flashback, Eldon absolutely owned this character originally, and it's wonderful to see him back. Behind the scenes, the story of Born Again's development is almost as fascinating as the show itself. Originally envisioned as an 18-episode procedural drama, the series reportedly lacked the serialized intensity and tonal consistency of the Netflix show. Marvel's decision to overhaul the project in late 2023 was risky, but ultimately necessary. Bringing in Scardapane, Benson and Moorhead shifted the creative direction entirely. The restructuring split the original 18-episode plan into 2 separate seasons, allowing the writers to tighten the narrative and focus more heavily on character-driven storytelling. You can feel the confidence throughout Season 2. Everything feels more cohesive, more deliberate, and more emotionally connected. Scardapane especially deserves enormous praise for understanding what made Daredevil resonate with audiences in the first place. He doesn't simply recreate the Netflix series, he evolves it. Now, the writing throughout the season is remarkably strong. There's patience in the storytelling that modern superhero content often lacks. Characters are allowed to breathe, emotional consequences matter, dialogue scenes carry just as much tension as action sequences. The political undertone surrounding Fisk's Anti-Vigilante Task Force feel timely without becoming preachy, while the broader themes of resistance, corruption, identity, and morality run throughout the season. One particularly bold creative choice is Matt Murdock publicly revealing himself as Daredevil by the season finale. It's a huge moment for the character and clearly designed to reshape the future of the series moving forward. And of course, the decision to kill Vanessa Fisk also dramatically escalates Fisk's descent into madness. The season continually raises the emotional stakes rather than relying purely on spectacle. Now, the design work for the season deserves enormous praise. Daredevil's black suit with the iconic red DD emblem is absolutely stunning, inspired by the Shadowland comic storyline, and the suit visually represents Matt's darker mental state. The gradually peeling black paint revealing the red underneath is a fantastic symbolic touch. Bullseye's updated costume also looks phenomenal, finally embracing more of the comic book style aesthetic, while still feeling grounded within this world. The AVTF's Black Punisher-inspired tactical uniforms also contribute to making this world feel lived in and visually distinctive. Filming once again took place extensively throughout New York, and the city's presence is felt in every frame. There's also fantastic use of aspect ratios during flashbacks and archival footage from the original Netflix series, helping visually connect both eras together. And the action sequences remain among the strongest in superhero television, balancing brutal hand-to-hand combat with emotional storytelling. Now, one particular interesting behind-the-scenes revelation involves Daniel Blake's death. Originally intended to survive into Season 3, the decision was later made during editing and rewrites to kill the character off instead. It ended up being the correct creative choice, giving greater emotional impact to Buck Cashman's arc and Fisk's growing ruthlessness. The visual effects work also remains restrained and grounded, which suits the tone of the series perfectly. Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again is not only a major improvement over the first season, it's one of the strongest Marvel television projects ever made. It understands the soul of the character. It respects the legacy of the Netflix series while confidently pushing the story forward. The performances are phenomenal. The writing is mature and emotionally layered. The action is brutal and grounded, and the visual style perfectly captures the darkness of Hell's Kitchen. Most importantly, though, it proves there is an absolute place for serious, adult-orientated superhero storytelling within the MCU. For long-time Daredevil fans, the season feels like a coming home. And if Marvel can maintain this level of quality moving forward, the future of this corner of the MCU suddenly looks incredibly exciting once again. Daredevil Born Again Season 2 gets a 9.5 out of 10. So what did you think of Daredevil Born Again Season 2? Please let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.